It begins with a simple, mindless scroll. You're waiting for your coffee, killing a few minutes before a meeting, or winding down after a long day. You open Instagram, and there it is. A friend from college is clinking champagne glasses on a catamaran in the Amalfi Coast. A swipe reveals a former colleague announcing the acquisition of their startup. Another swipe, an influencer you follow unboxes a new luxury watch, the light catching its polished face just so. And suddenly, your perfectly fine day feels a little less so. Your coffee tastes a bit more bitter. The four walls of your office feel a little tighter. A quiet, insidious feeling creeps in. It's a toxic cocktail of longing, resentment, and inadequacy. It's the phantom in your pocket, buzzing with notifications that show you everything you're not, everything you don't have. This is financial envy, and in the digital age, it has become a silent epidemic. For generations, we've contended with the keeping up with the Joneses phenomenon, the pressure to match the material success of our neighbors. But our neighbors were once limited to our physical community. We saw their new car in the driveway, heard about their promotion at a barbecue. The points of comparison were finite. Today, social media has demolished those boundaries. Our neighborhood is now the entire planet. We are constantly exposed not to the reality, but to the meticulously curated highlight reels of millions of Joneses, each one seemingly richer, happier, and more successful than we are. This constant exposure has weaponized our natural human tendency to compare ourselves to others. What was once a psychological quirk has morphed into a significant source of anxiety, poor financial decisions, and profound unhappiness. We find ourselves chasing a life that isn't our own, funded by money we may not have, to impress people we may not even know. This text is a deep dive into the destructive nature of financial envy in the age of social media. We will dissect the psychological architecture of comparison, explore how our digital environment pours fuel on this ancient fire, and lay bare the heavy costs, emotional, financial, and relational, of living under its shadow. But this is not just an analysis, it is a practical guide. The goal is to provide you with the philosophical perspective and actionable strategies needed to break free from the syndrome of the neighbor, to stop looking sideways at what others have, and to start focusing forward on your own unique and deeply personal path to a rich life. It's time to exercise the phantom in your pocket and find true satisfaction in your own financial journey. To overcome financial envy, we must first understand what it truly is. Not a mere character flaw, not a sign of greed, but a complex emotional response, rooted in ancient psychological mechanisms and evolutionary instincts, now amplified to an overwhelming degree by the architecture of modern technology. At the heart of envy lies comparison. In the 1950s, psychologist Leon Festinger introduced social comparison theory, the idea that we are wired to evaluate ourselves by looking at others. This instinct isn't inherently harmful. In fact, it helped our ancestors survive. Knowing your place in the tribe meant knowing whether you'd be fed, protected, accepted. It was a matter of life and death. Festinger described two primary modes of comparison. The first is downward comparison, looking at those who seem worse off. This can offer comfort, even gratitude. I may not have a new car, but at least I have a stable job, one might think. The second is upward comparison, looking at those who seem better off. This is where envy is born. Sometimes it inspires. If they can do it, so can I. But more often it wounds. It breeds frustration, inadequacy, and resentment.
The problem is that this ancient software was designed for small tribes, for comparing yourself to your neighbor, your cousin, your colleague, people whose lives you could see in full, their struggles, their efforts, their humanity. In that context, upward comparison was often motivating. You could see the path ahead and imagine walking it. Then came the digital age, and with it, a flood of comparison data our minds were never built to handle. Social media took our ancient instincts and supercharged them. It became the greatest catalyst for financial envy in human history. First, there's the curated reality. Social media isn't a mirror, it's a stage. People share their victories, not their battles. You see the vacation, not the 50 weeks of work. You see the house, not the mortgage. You see the business, not the burnout. And so we compare our messy, behind-the-scenes lives to everyone else's highlight reels. It's a comparison we are mathematically guaranteed to lose. Then comes the algorithmic echo chamber. Platforms are designed to hold your attention. If you pause on a luxury post, a watch, a car, a villa, the algorithm learns. It shows you more and more, until your feed becomes a hall of mirrors, reflecting wealth you don't have, lives you don't live. Reality warps. It feels like everyone is thriving, except you. And this brings us to a familiar syndrome: keeping up with the Joneses. Once it meant matching your neighbor's lawnmower or car. Today it's global. The Joneses are no longer next door. They're the 500 friends on Facebook, the thousands on Instagram, the millions on TikTok. A teacher compares their vacation to a tech CEO's. A student compares their apartment to a crypto millionaire's mansion. The comparisons are endless. The goalposts keep moving. And no matter what you achieve, there's always someone with more. This is the hedonic treadmill of envy. You run, you reach, you scroll, and just when you feel satisfied, the next post reminds you of what you lack. It's a game rigged against your peace of mind.
To live in constant financial comparison is not merely to suffer a passing mood, it is to invite a slow erosion of peace, of clarity, of connection. Financial envy is not just expensive in terms of what it makes us crave, it is costly in what it quietly destroys. At its root, financial envy is a declaration of lack, a whisper that says, "You are missing something essential. Others have it, you do not." This whisper becomes a narrative, and the narrative becomes a lens through which we see ourselves, distorted, diminished, disoriented. When your sense of worth is tethered to your financial standing relative to others, anxiety becomes your companion. Every scroll through social media becomes a threat. Every announcement of someone's success feels like a personal failure. The body responds. Cortisol floods the system. Sleep falters. Immunity weakens. Burnout looms. And then comes the lie. Your net worth equals your self-worth. This lie is subtle but devastating. It makes your identity fragile, rising and falling with numbers you cannot control. You stop seeing your kindness, your creativity, your integrity. You see only a balance sheet, and it never feels enough. Bitterness follows. Envy is a close cousin to resentment. It makes joy for others feel like a betrayal of self. Their promotion, their new home, their windfall, it all feels unjust. And so cynicism grows. Connection fades. You begin to isolate from the very people you once admired. You lose the ability to celebrate, and with it, a vital part of being human. Ironically, the desire to improve your financial life, when driven by envy, often leads to its undoing. You begin to spend not from values, but from wounds, A raise becomes a signal to upgrade your image, not your future. A new car, a bigger apartment, not because you need them, but because they align with the lifestyle you envy. This is lifestyle inflation, not growth. It's performance, not progress. And when the funds fall short, debt steps in. Credit cards, loans, buy now, pay later, all become bridges between the life you live and the life you want others to believe you live. You work not to build wealth, but to service the illusion. Some freeze. The gap between reality and aspiration feels too vast. They stop saving, stop planning, stop believing. Others gamble. Desperate to catch up, they chase speculative assets, fall for get-rich-quick schemes, invest in things they barely understand. Both paths, paralysis and recklessness, lead to ruin. Financial envy does not stay confined to the mind or the wallet. It seeps into relationships, quietly, corrosively. Friendships become strained. You avoid those whose success make you feel small. Conversations grow tense, filled with unspoken judgment. Even within families, envy can fracture bonds, especially between siblings, creating lifelong rifts over perceived disparities. In romantic partnerships, the damage can be profound. When one partner constantly compares your shared life to others, pressure builds. Conflicts over spending erupt. Resentment over income differences festers. One dreams of long-term security, the other chases short-term validation. Trust erodes. Teamwork falters. The financial foundation of the relationship begins to crack. In the end, financial envy invites you into a game you cannot win. A game with a scorecard that doesn't matter. A game with rules designed to make you unhappy. The only way to win is to step away, to stop playing, to reclaim your own path, not by comparison, but by clarity.
Breaking free from the grip of financial envy is not about suppressing a natural emotion. It's about transforming it, not by force, but through clarity, through conscious redirection, through the slow, deliberate act of building a life so rooted in your own values that comparison loses its grip. This is not a passive process. It is a practice, a philosophy of reclaiming your attention, your environment, and your definition of wealth. Step 1. Radical awareness. You cannot heal what you refuse to name. The first step is to bring envy out of the shadows and into the light of your awareness. When that familiar pang arises, after a scroll, a conversation, a headline, pause. Say to yourself, "This is envy. I am feeling envious right now." This simple act of naming creates space. The emotion becomes observable, not overwhelming. You are not bad for feeling it. You are human, and you are learning. Become a gentle detective of your own mind. For 1 week, notice what triggers the feeling. Write it down. A post, a person, a moment. Soon you will see patterns, and with patterns comes power. You may not avoid every trigger, but you will begin to disarm them. Step 2. Curate your environment. Your environment shapes your thoughts. You wouldn't try to heal in a room full of toxins. So why try to cultivate peace in a digital space designed to provoke comparison? Begin the great digital declutter. Scroll through your feeds with intention. If an account consistently makes you feel small, anxious, or resentful, unfollow, mute. This is not cruelty, it is care. You are not rejecting others.
You are protecting your own peace. Replace aspiration with inspiration. Follow those who teach, not just those who flaunt. Seek out voices that share process, not just perfection. Let your feed become a garden of growth, not a gallery of fantasy. Set boundaries. Limit your time online. Schedule your scrolling, rather than letting it fill every empty moment. The less you expose yourself to the stimulus, the less power it holds. Step 3. Redefine a rich life. Financial envy thrives in narrow definitions. Success becomes a number, a car, a house. But richness is more than wealth. It is depth. It is freedom. It is joy. Ask yourself, what does a truly rich life mean to me? Consider time wealth, the freedom to spend your hours as you choose. Health wealth, the vitality to enjoy your days. Relationship wealth, the warmth of connection. Experience wealth, the memories, the skills, the stories. Creative wealth, the space to make, to dream, to play. Try the perfect day exercise. Write out your ideal day, from waking to sleeping. Not the price tags, but the feelings, the flow, the freedom. You may find that your richest life is not expensive. It is intentional, and it is yours. Step 4. Practice gratitude. Gratitude is the antidote. It is neurologically impossible to feel envy and gratitude at the same time. One says, I lack. The other says, I have. Start a gratitude journal. Each day, write 3 to 5 specific things, not generalities, but moments. The way the sunlight hit my desk, the laughter in that phone call, the quiet walk before dinner. This trains your mind to seek beauty, not lack. Celebrate your own progress. Look back. 1 year ago, 5, 10. What have you overcome? What have you learned? What small victories have you earned this week? A paid bill? A saved dollar? A moment of restraint? Honor them. Let your journey be your measure. Step 6. Reframe comparison. Comparison is not the enemy. It is a tool. It can wound or it can teach. When you see someone thriving, shift your lens from envy to curiosity. Ask, how did they do that? What habits? What sacrifices? What skills? Seek mentors, not idols. Admire their process, not just their results. Learn from their journey. Let their story become a blueprint, not a burden. In the end, financial contentment is found not in numbers, it is found in alignment, in knowing who you are, in walking your own path with clarity, with gratitude, with peace.
Financial envy is a prison with invisible bars, constructed from the highlight reels of others and cemented by our own insecurities. It promises happiness through imitation, but delivers only resentment and debt. It forces us into a race we never signed up for, toward a finish line that doesn't exist. The truth, the core principle of a sound financial philosophy is this: the most important financial competition is not with your neighbor, your colleague, or the influencer on your screen. It is with yesterday's version of yourself. The goal is not to have more than others. It is to have enough to live a life aligned with your own deeply held values.
Breaking free is a conscious act of rebellion. It is the rebellion of unfollowing the noise. It is the rebellion of defining your own rich life. It is the rebellion of celebrating your own quiet progress in a world that only applauds the loud finish. The journey away from envy and toward contentment is not a short one. It requires daily practice, conscious effort, and a profound commitment to your own well-being. But the prize is the greatest one imaginable: a life of financial peace, authentic purpose, and the deep, unshakable satisfaction of walking your own path at your own pace toward a prize that you yourself have defined. That is a form of wealth that can never be captured in a social media post, and it is the only kind that truly matters.